It's really easy to align things in InDesign. So we have guides. If you don't see these guides, make sure you do a Control R to bring up your rulers. And you can pull guides from the side just like you can in Illustrator. So if you want to create layouts that are totally aligned for text, you can do that. InDesign also has a sort of a smart guides. So you'll see when you drag things around that you'll begin to get these like green highlights that show you where corners are aligned. And really take advantage of those because InDesign has the ability to help you align things so that you don't really have to pay too much attention. Okay, I told you I would show you a little bit about annotations. So in InDesign, there is a pen tool just like there is in Illustrator. And I'm going to go to my layers and make sure I'm on the annotation layer. And then I'm going to either go to the pen tool or just press P for pen. And now if I click on a point in my drawing and I use Shift to make this a straight line, I can draw a little lead line like this. And now if I go to stroke, I can define what that lead line looks like. So I can change this. I'm going to keep it at 1. I can give it a start and an end. So since I started here, that will define what my start point is. So I can give this, for example, a little circle. And if we look at what that looks like, it just gives a little circle that highlights where exactly this is pointing to on the plan. One nice thing about InDesign is you can actually change the size of those start and end points independently of the line weight. So if I want to increase that circle to 250% so that it stands out more, I can do that. You can also add something to the other end, for example, a bar or something else, but I'm just going to keep mine with none. So you can draw these little annotations. Maybe instead of that, you want an arrow, or you want a simple arrow like that. And you want to point out something on the plan. You could do that, and you can play around with the scale of the end of that item as well. So after you draw annotations, I would go back to the text layer and I would try to keep the text sizes consistent. So I would probably just copy a text, and I'm doing that by pressing down Alt and align it with the top of that lead line. When you're doing annotations, you want to make sure the text actually begins right at the end of the lead line. So I'm going to change this to, I'm going to change this in paragraph to right alignment. And I could even put this over top of my lead line like this. So now I have, let's call this Plaza. Press W for a preview, and you can see this is a really nice annotation over top of my drawing, and I can be sure that the text is legible on this poster because I'm annotating it right on top of my poster instead of within this drawing, which might get scaled up or down. So I think that's pretty much it. The last thing I will show you guys is how to export your files. I would recommend you export them as PDFs. And we'll go up to File and then Export. And I'm just going to save over top of this previous export that I did as a test before. So you can give it whatever name you want. Mine has the page size, so it's A0, and then I'm going to add this R1 as the revision 1. And you see it's descriptive. It's my poster layout. It's phase 1 of our semester. It's an A0 size page, and this is revision 1. So try to give your files descriptive names like this so that you're not getting lost as you're trying to navigate and look for things. So I'm going to go to Save. And in this dialog box, I just want you to note a few things. You can turn your compatibility to Acrobat 8 and 9. That's going to reduce the file size a little bit. The more compatibility you need to have with previous versions, the higher the file size. So just put it on the most recent one like this. And then if you go to compression, I want you to make sure that your compression is turned down to 150 for images above 300 on both of these image types. That's just going to make sure that if you have any insanely high resolution images, it's just going to reduce them down to an appropriate size for this poster without really harming the quality. So we still have a high quality JPEG going on here, but it's just going to give it a little bit less resolution, which is totally fine for screens. And then in the, let's see, in the output, I would want you to change this to convert to destination. The default is no color conversion, which would basically take all of the images and export them as is. Convert to destination and then select this sRGB, which I think is located somewhere down here. Yeah, it's right here. sRGB is a very common JPEG color profile, and this will ensure that the greatest consistency between all of the images, as well as the highest color gamut. So then you can go export, and this is fine. This just means there's some images that are transparent and some are not, and that's fine. We're just going to click OK. And if I go to my desktop where I have this saved, and I look at this, I can see that the size is, oops, making a new one here, 2.61 megabytes. So if your drawing file is really, really large, think about the size of the images that you're importing it. Are you importing 100 megabyte files into these? You probably want to reduce those so that they're not so heavy on your file. So if you need help remembering how to reduce files, you can ask me, or you can just try to go to a few online resources like Tiny JPEG, Tiny PNG, or Small PDF. So that is the sort of basic tutorial for filling in this poster in InDesign. And let me know if you have any other questions or if you run into any issues after you've opened this up and taken a look.